Hello and welcome to Logan Rando Aquascaping. My name is Logan and I'm super excited today because finally we are adding some fish to my UNS 60U. It's a 20-gallon tank and it's about 2 months old as of today. So this day has been a long time in the making and I'm really excited to add these guys because I went through a really difficult algae and diatom phase, but about 2 weeks ago, I added a school of about 10 autosynclists and they just completely wiped out any sort of remaining diatoms. And I've been on top of my water changes. And as expected with good husbandry, we got through the algae and diatom phase and things are beginning to look beautiful. So as the weeks go by, we're gonna enhance the tank, we're gonna kind of prune it into its prime state, and we're gonna get this thing looking really, really nice because it's not there yet, but that's the fun of aquascaping. You sort of get to shape things and it's always changing. So what do you say we dive right into the topic? I'm gonna show you guys my step-by-step process for how I add new fish to an aquarium that is cycled. So today we're talking about fish. I do have a video on how I drip acclimate very sensitive shrimp, and I sort of go into the science of why shrimp are sensitive in the first place. So if you're adding shrimp or delicate invertebrates, go ahead and check that video out. It is linked below in the description. But today we're adding fish, which depending on the species tend to be less sensitive than delicate shrimp. So I'm gonna show you how that's done. So while I'm gathering my materials for my acclimation system, I like to float the bag in the tank. So what this does is, depending on how far you've gone and depending on how long the fish have been sitting in your car, you know, they can be significantly cooler than the water in your tank. So this allows them to sort of safely acclimate to the ambient temperature in the tank, anywhere from like 20 minutes to 40 minutes. But in my case, my fish store is only about 25 minutes away. So I'm gonna give them about 15 minutes. And as I mentioned, I like to use the drip acclimation system, even for non-sensitive species, simply because I find it, once you set it up, it's sort of set it and forget it. And it buys you that extra safety net. So if you can't tell by now, I am adding some beautiful Flamingo guppies, all males. I've got 20 of them to this tank, and they're not particularly sensitive fish by any means, but I wanna make sure they have the best start. And I do run CO2 in this tank, so despite being in the same Portland, Oregon water as the fish store, my tank is gonna be a little bit more acidic, so that's why I wanna drip acclimate. Okay, so now that the fish are done floating, we're gonna set up our drip acclimation system. And before I show you how to do that, I have to give a shout out to Mark from MJ Aquascaping. He mentioned my shrimp acclimation video in one of his videos, and I saw that his own acclimation system was just a lot more tidy and smart than mine. So I stole his suction cup method. I thought it was just brilliant, so thank you very much, Mark. So what we're gonna need is a container for your fish to sit in. In this case, I'm just using a spare fluval chi that I had sitting around. It's a 5-gallon tank, I believe. And we're gonna need some Airline hose, and we're gonna need 2 suction cups that you can insert Airline hose through. So most of your local fish stores will contain that. I think I have the Lee's brand. So we're gonna put one of the suction cups in the tank where the water is gonna come from, and we're gonna put the other suction cup in the container that the fish are acclimating in. And then you're gonna run your Airline from the tank all the way to the receiving container. And before we start the drip acclimation system, let's get the fish in the container. So you wanna cut open the bag and very, very gently pour the water into the container. You know, slow and steady is the key with this. You don't wanna dump your fish out or risk anybody getting stuck in the bag. So just do it very slowly and allow the fish to kind of go with the flow. Believe me, they won't wanna get stuck in the bag without any water. So once you've done that, you're gonna set up a siphon by just sucking into the bottom end of the hose, and then you can tie a knot to regulate the flow. So if we were acclimating really delicate shrimp right now, I would probably have the drip rate between 1 to 2 drips per second. We do that over, you know, about 2.5 to 4 hours. But because these guppies are coming from Portland water and they're going in the Portland water and they're not very sensitive fish to begin with, I'm gonna set it around 3 to 5 drips per second, and I'll probably acclimate around an hour, hour and a half, just to be safe. You essentially wanna like double or quadruple the water volume. And what I do is, as they're acclimating, I'm constantly checking the TDS to make sure that the tank and the container are very, very similar. But like I said, because I'm running CO2, the water is probably gonna be a little bit more acidic, so I'm taking my time with it. So once you're set up, you can pretty much just walk away, go about your day. You know, I had just come home from a hike when I set these guys up, so I was able to shower, rinse off my hiking boots. And you know, I'm just checking on it every 10 minutes to make sure that the hose isn't falling out. I mean, the suction cups really help with that. They really secure the line. So there's not much to worry about. But once the time is up and things are looking really good and the TDS is the same in the container as it is in the tank, it's time to net our fish, which is a really exciting process. So for this part, I definitely recommend shutting the filter off if you can. I mean, you don't want to like put your fish in and they're getting blown around by a filter. Imagine like getting into your new apartment or house and there's just like a windstorm in there. You'd probably be like, all right, I don't want to live here, and you'd like go into hiding. So just give them a nice gentle start before you turn on the filter. And whenever you net somebody in, you know, slow and steady is the name of the game. Let them work their way out of the net at their own pace. And just keep an eye on them, you know, make sure they're curious and healthy looking. Though there are some species that, you know, right away, they're just adapted to like bury themselves in the substrate or to hide. So do your research, but don't be too alarmed if you see something like that. I know ember tetras in particular will just like right away go into hiding and bury their body into the substrate. So don't be alarmed, but guppies are just such friendly, outgoing fish that right away I'm watching these guys and they're just super curious. They're nibbling on the algae and on the diatoms and on the moss, and they're just really a joy to watch. So once I get everybody in there, I'm just gonna take a step back and make sure everybody's interacting okay. And when things feel all right, I'm gonna turn the filter on. And again, I'm gonna observe, make sure that nobody's, you know, getting sucked in, though these are, you know, larger nano fish, so I'm not too worried about that in the first place. And yeah, I'm super happy with these guys. Like I said earlier, they are Flamingo guppies. They're all male, so they're really, really beautiful and showy, and they're just a joy to watch. So my roommate and best friend actually sort of helped me set up this tank. She helped me with the cost of the plants and some of the materials. So she had, you know, a 50% say in picking these guys out, and she wanted something really bright and colorful. Usually I go for something like a little bit more traditional in the aquascaping world, like ember tetras or a boraras, or something that is a little bit more color neutral. But I wanted to make sure she was happy too, since she helped me with the costs. And I have to say, I think we made an awesome decision because these guys are just a joy to watch. They're so beautiful and they're so lively. They're not particularly delicate, which is a really good thing, especially if you're setting up a tank as a complete beginner. You really don't want a very delicate species because, you know, that's could potentially turn you away from the hobby if you lose a lot of fish quickly. So these guys are just a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing them color up as the weeks go by. And now that we are through our algae and our diatom phase, as expected, really good husbandry, regular water changes, and my little school of autosynclus just completely annihilated the algae. So it's time to get this tank looking its best, and I want to take you guys along for that journey. But I also have a UNS 5N sitting in storage. That's a little nano 4-gallon tank. And I went to IKEA yesterday hoping that I was going to pick up a stand for it, and unfortunately they're just like sold out of anything I was interested in. So if you guys have any recommendations for a good stand for a little nano tank, the UNS 5N is a 4-gallon, so it's super small, not particularly heavy. Let me know down below in the comments because I'm really excited to set that up. And I look forward to seeing you guys in some future videos. So thanks so much for watching today. I hope this helped when it comes to adding new fish to your aquarium. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.